This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined again by Dave Lee, the Executive Director of E1 Marine, to discuss the challenges and opportunities inherent in maritime industry's fuel transition, specifically the ability to scale renewable shoreside power for ports. So, Dave, to start us off, can you give an overview of E1 Marine, just to offer its offer to the maritime industry and its affiliation specifically with maritime partners?
Yeah, E1 Marine, we're a very interesting company. What we're trying to do is look at enabling hydrogen as a fuel in the maritime and port space. But we're looking at it a little differently versus just tanking in some hydrogen from somewhere. We're looking at a commodity that is already really well out there into the marketplace, which is methanol and water. We take those as a mixture. We put them through our reforming technology on the back side of it. We end up with fuel cell grade hydrogen. So we're really a big fan of hydrogen and it being the next fuel for again the maritime and port space. So we're it really kind of mold back together from E1 Marine into Maritime Partners. Is Maritime Partners I joined probably about 2 years ago as the VP of Technology and Innovation. And the first thing we were looking at Maritime Partners is we need to do something different. We're very well known in the Jones Act space. We're owners of 1,900 vessels. I mean, we're a big player, but we're still kind of doing the same thing everybody else is. We need this industry in the U.S. to really push forward and be more innovative compared to other places in the world. So with that, actually before my time, we were part of a joint venture that created E1 Marine. And as I joined the team, we had many different discussions and we saw what this technology could be. We decided, you know what, we're going to buy out the other two-thirds and make this a fully owned company of Maritime Partners. So with that, I guess about the past 6, 7 months, I've been leading the team over at E1 Marine as well. We're really trying to figure out where the technology fits best into the industry and then move forward from there.
So, from where you sit, can you give your view? I like to call it the reality on the street in terms of
Yeah,
the alternative fuel use in the maritime sector today.
yeah, it's actually not the easiest. It's one of the more frustrating, right? I've been in the industry for 15 years now. I've been in the new technology space for going on 7 of those years. And with that, I think the last 7 years is why I have as much white hair that I do. Trying to sell new technology in the marine space is you're better off beating your head against the wall. We're an industry that just loves doing the same thing we always have, and then there's nothing wrong with that, except for when you have regulation driving you to something else. At my heart, I'm an engineer, and one of the things that I always look at and drove me nuts in my early career was many engineers tried to engineer around a problem versus engineering to fix the problem. What we've done in the last 50 years is just trying to engineer around the problem, continue to make diesel a little bit better, a little bit better. Let's strap another system on top of a diesel engine. Let's start blending some other things in to make diesel's just never going to get to where we need it to be. And so what I'm looking at, I'll specifically talk about the E1 Marine technology real quick, and then I'll kind of circle back to more of the boots on the ground. We're coming up with something here to engineer through the problem, not around the problem. Try to figure out what is the replacement for diesel is what we're really trying to do here. And there's an application, and what makes it really difficult is diesel is so easy in every application. It's just a universal fuel. And so when we look at it going forward, I think what we need to look at is there's a different technology or a different fuel for different applications. And that's a different way of thinking. And it doesn't translate well to a lot of marine operators because they want the same stuff. Well, if you're looking at, small short run ferries, then, I gotta say, a small battery pack, if you're only running 1,000 yards across a small little waterway, the battery pack's probably going to be the best for you, right? But your other ferries that are very long run ferries, we're looking at that being, hey, hydrogen is your best step. into it, and how can we enable that? So I think if I look at it from the operator standpoint and say what is happening out there today, it is a world of frustration. It is, I am being hit by everything, every color in the world. I don't know how many different colors there are for fuel now, to be quite honest with you. And there's blue, pink, gray. We're coming up with different colors every single day. So looking at that and then looking at technology and which way I need to go in that direction. And then you're being hit with all this and you don't know where to go. And that's really, I think, where we're at today. And then part that back saying, okay, any new technology is more expensive. Where do I get the money to make these moves that regulation's pushing me to? And that's been a struggle at the same time. So we're really kind of at this confluence right now: technology, regulation, and where do I get the dollars? And it's not really flowing well together. I think what we'll find is in the next 5 to 10 years, that'll kind of hash itself out a little bit better. But right now, it's really just a struggle for the industry saying, where do I go? What do I do?
When you look at it, I guess holistically, what specifically do you think has to happen to bring alternative fuels more to the mainstream? And what do you see happening now that gives you insight as to how fast and how far this is moving in 2025 and beyond?
I think the big one, and this is one of the things we identified at Maritime Partners, is someone has to break through. Someone has to push and figure some of these things out. We're building the Hydrogen One vessel on the E1 marine technology. There is no regulation, Greg. The last year and a half is nothing but Coast Guard work to figure out what is the rule set for something like this. And all that, it comes down to cost and where are you going to get to find those dollars. And the biggest thing that's holding the industry back is it's just too expensive and there's no regulation. And I'm not sure about the technology, but we're just looking at it and saying, forget it, we're going to break through and we're just going to do it. We had to pave that road, and without somebody paving that road, it's never going to happen. Then we're going to continue to do the same thing we are today. So I think one of the bright spots for us, I would say, in the Hydrogen One project thus far, is the openness and willingness to work on new technology from the U.S. Coast Guard. We're working with them. We're also working with Lloyd's Register at the same time. Classification societies are always a little bit further ahead than the class state, but there's no one like U.S. Coast Guard around the world. And I do have to say that they are very hungry, very willing to work on this project and help us get new rule sets. It only helps them at the same time. And they're no different than the marine industry right now. They're being hit by all sides as well. I mean, we're talking about fuels and technology for propulsion. They're all the way on. People are hitting them up for autonomous systems. We're just in this crazy time right now. But I can say that their willingness to work with us on the project has made it a whole lot easier on us and really helped us lower some of that cost. But going back to your original question, to get us beyond 2024, 2025, we need more people to push through, show the technology works, as well as in the correct application for that technology.
So, how do you envision how the current administration in the next 4 years will impact the development of alternative fuels in maritime?
So the interesting one to me, and I've had many different conversations about this. E1 Marine being a global company, Maritime Partners being a global company, I travel around the globe, and this is the number one topic everybody wants to talk about is the what's going on in politics in the U.S. and how it's going to drive what we're doing. What I can tell you is the U.S. is only one part, and unfortunately, even in my past career, the new technology, new fuels is not being driven by the US. It's being driven by a lot of countries over in the EU and Scandinavia, China, which is unfortunate because these new technologies only help us out in other realms outside the maritime industry. But I think if we look at the US, look, I think the handwriting's on the wall. A lot of the money that was out there and available, EPA port grants, all those types of things, they're trying to be clawed back. Okay, whether or not it happens, that's to be seen, but it's reality. What I look at though is if you just go back 20 years, no matter what the administration is, look at the 20-year trend. We're getting there. We're moving in this direction. And what I can tell you about the US and compared to when I was younger, the newer generations, the ones that don't have the white hair like you and I, Greg, they are more and more focused on environmental issues, more and more focused on new technologies, those types of things. So even if we do have a slowdown in the US, it's not slowing down elsewhere. And the trend over time is not slowing down. It's just going to become more regulation as we go through the beyond this administration. And it's one of those things that down low we know is the right thing to do. It's going to continue, maybe not at the speed we saw it in the last 4 years administration, but the overall trend globally is continuing at that trend.
I'd like to dive a bit deeper into the technical, which I know you like to do, specifically on E1 Marine's latest methanol to hydrogen generator project that, as I
Mm-hmm.
understand, is set to launch in 2025 in partnership with Stax Engineering.
Correct.
Can you discuss the project in the round as well as the E1 Marine technology that supports it?
Yeah, so this is an association with a project that is funded by South Coast AQMD and CARB in California. So Stax Engineering, they have their emission capture barge technology that they utilize throughout California. And we were able to partner with them on their really hotel load while they're sitting shoreside. So the barge itself runs off diesel generators today. While it's in operation, they're able to utilize their emission capture device to capture all the emissions coming off. But when they're sitting shoreside, the emission capture system's not running. So they're running their diesel generators again. And they're finding what we've heard the trend to be in California and the rest of the places. When they do find shore power, it's very unreliable. And they've had several times where the ship has blacked out. They had to restart a bunch of stuff, and it's just they're with along with CARB, they're saying, hey, there's better technology out there. So we're able to utilize our containerized system, about 150 kilowatt. Inside the box is the reformer itself, the fuel cell, all the power electronics, a small battery, and we will be able to utilize a pre-mixed methanol and water to generate about that 150 kilowatts. So they can sit shoreside now without NOx, SOx, particulate matter. So it's a big win for both sides, and it's really our first high profile commercial project where we can show here's what you can do with the technology.